Anita basically gave you my general background. I have been practicing for 20 years, which astounds me. In the last 15 years or so, I've been focused almost entirely on independent film and television work. I weaseled my way in back in the mid-90s. I was a trial lawyer doing, primarily representing elevator and escalator designers and forklift designers and material handling systems and products liability cases, basically a defense lawyer in the personal injury world, and got a lot of experience trying cases. And at some point started waking up thinking I was on fire because it's replete with moral and ethical quandaries, if you will. It's a very discouraging system. I don't know of a better one. But at some point I realized that I wanted to continue being a trial lawyer because to me that was always what practicing law was, standing in front of a judge and a jury and being in the midst of the action, if you will. And I started at that point to produce short films. I had studied film. And in college, I went to a school called Binghamton. It was mostly an avant-garde film program at the time, studying filmmakers like Stan Brakhage and Kenneth Anger, sure, and Ken Jacobs and these type of folks, mostly like scratching negatives, not really commercial film, but certainly developed an appreciation for it. Started going out to Sundance back in 1993. I haven't missed a year since. I just had my 17th anniversary there, and really found that inspirational. And more the bad films were inspiring than the good films, because and short films in particular, because I could get my head around making a short, because I figured it's a long weekend. And the bad films were inspiring because I'd look at the screen and say, boy, I could make something this bad, and started doing it. So once I had started making these little films and started to meet people at Sundance without any particular agenda, I decided that I wanted to leverage that and kind of weasel my way into doing entertainment law, specifically film. I rarely say I'm an entertainment lawyer because it sounds a little too much like chiropractor to me. There's a sort of sense in the entertainment industry from an outsider's perspective as like a trial lawyer that kind of loosey-goosey about conflicts and stuff like that. So I'm very sensitive to professional conflicts in an area that is kind of replete with professional conflicts. We can talk about that more later. So back in 1994, and this is how the industry works, through my sister, who was a massage therapist, I met a lawyer named Phil Cowan, who was the managing partner of a firm called Cowan, DeBates, Abrams, and Shepard. They're still around. And Phil was was not only the managing partner of this firm and a very esteemed copyright lawyer and entertainment lawyer, he was also a world champion bridge player. I'm the son of a professional gambler and grew up in a casino basically my whole life. So that was kind of my in. My sister made the introduction. We played a game called Hearts at his house and managed to sort out some deal where I beat him at his own game. 1 out of like 10 times, but it happened to be that night. And that was kind of my entree into entertainment law. We worked out this cockamamie deal where I was paying him overhead to be sort of an of-counsel attorney at his firm. I was actually paying him $2,000 a month and giving him 15 hours of my time a month and paying my overhead, and he was holding me out as an associate. Because frankly, although Phil was excited about bringing me on, he had a bunch of partners who, were saying, what do I want a personal injury lawyer for? Who is this guy, And I had enthusiasm and was generating enough revenue through gambling at the time to set myself up there. And over the course of the next 4 years or so, I managed to build a little bit of practice, never stopped making shorts. Had a bunch of them at Sundance. I'm not a director, I'm not a writer, I have no talent or aspiration, it's quite uncomplicated. But knew a lot of filmmakers and was able to, sort of facilitate their dreams. And I think I've shot 6 films at my mother's house, one of these things, and managed to sort of build up a client base and build up relationships by going to Sundance, by being very involved in the industry. I was the shortstop on the New York Women in Film and Television softball team for years. This position that Anita mentioned, the chairperson of the, it's real, but the chairperson of the New York State Bar Association Committee on Motion Pictures, I actually created the position and then appointed myself. It's legit. I think I was practicing in the entertainment area for about a year and a half, and there was a lawyer at my office who was very involved in the Bar Association. I said, well, where is this Committee on Motion Pictures? And he said, it doesn't exist. I said, well, it should. And he said, okay. So there I am. All of a sudden, I've got this exalted title of being the chairperson of Motion Pictures in the Bar Association. So I kind of did what I could to, get myself, seated at that table. And over the course of the next, 15 years or so, the practice has really grown. I think in part because, you know, I've produced a bunch of pictures at this point, some features as well, and I really like to think I have a working understanding of how productions actually work on the ground, you know, and there's a lot of lawyers that don't get that. And I don't mean to disparage anyone, but, you know, part of what I was doing when I was, did I mention I was the chairperson of the Motion Picture Group? Part of what I was doing, and it was, you know, I was sort of a bit of a subversive, I would bring filmmakers up to complain about lawyers, to say this is what's not working for us. You know, I try to communicate with my lawyer, and he or she doesn't understand what I'm talking about when you know, we're talking about overages, or when we're talking about, you know, just day-to-day production exigencies that, you know, talking to a lawyer that's never been on the set doesn't talk the talk. So I think what we brought to the table, or what I brought to the table at the time, is I was actually in the field making the mistakes myself and hopefully learning from them. And it was sort of a different look, you know, in terms of a law firm that had, you know, attorneys that really had practical production experience, because it puts you in a position to anticipate the, you know, the issues that are going to arise, you know, whether it be clearance issues, what you can see on the camera, you know, there's a, and this happens every day in my life. I do a lot of TV work as well. You know, can you have that TV show playing in the background? Can you have that de Kooning work in the background? Do you need releases from everyone who appears? Music. I mean, there's a lot of myths going around. Well, you can use 3 beats, you can use 2 beats. No, none of it's true, you know? So, you know, I really made, I'm proud to say, enough mistakes on my own that it really caused me to you know, learn even more as a lawyer and be able to sort of combine the two, the practical experience and, you know, what at this point is like 20 years of legal experience. And, you know, we've got a nice little practice now after 20 years. We have the privilege, and it is genuinely a privilege. I will get weepy-eyed, you know, at any moment, because it is really a privilege to be working in film, and I don't lose sight of that any day, really any day. We have 5 attorneys in my practice, some of whom came from big firms like Sherman Sterling. You know, a fellow named Andre DesRochers, who's a wonderful attorney, who decided at some point working for Sherman Sterling that he wanted to be poor and happy as opposed to rich and miserable, and I was happy to accommodate. So, you know, I think each one of the attorneys at my practice, you know, has some degree of practical experience. I like to get them in the field. I'm not sending my, you know, my lawyers out to, you know, PA on productions, but I do think it's important that, that one who is providing production counsel actually understand what production is. So you know, I could keep going on forever and ever, but this is a Q&A, and I'm happy to really answer just about any question. We come in, well, you know, I don't just do production legal. We also represent, you know, I represent television production companies. I do a lot of reality shows, all the LA Inc. and Miami Inc. and Rachel Zoe and all these things. And we also represent some writers and producers and toy manufacturers, advertising agencies. But yes, folks will come to us very early on in the game and say, I want to do the adaptation of this book or this magazine article, or someone gave me a treatment that I'm interested in developing, stage play, whatever the underlying material is. It could be a song. And we handle those negotiations pretty much from the get-go. Usually folks land with us saying, here's the publisher, I already had a conversation with them, but often folks come to us and just say, I know nothing except I like this book and think it would be a great movie. And then we'll contact the publishers. Sometimes there's multiple publishers, and, you know, ferret out who controls those motion picture rights, and then, you know, do those deals. And the next, you know, phase is, assuming that it's an underlying work, is engaging the screenwriter to do the adaptation. We do those deals, and then in a perfect world, the screenplay is done and it's terrific, and it's a go project. And at that point, we're putting together the financial structures, which can be any different, you know, combination of elements, whether it's, you know, straight equity or co-productions, or, you know, debt and equity, or taking advantage of the, oh, that's right, the tax credit thing is a mess. Yes. Taking advantage of the tax credit thing, that's going to resolve itself, I assure you. So we'll be involved in that phase of it as well, putting together the financial structures, and then it's, you know, into production, doing all the deals, whether it be with, you know, the director or the producers or the key crew, the talent, of course, you know.